for 11 days and you got this opportunity of fighting for a world title, and then all of a sudden your buddy tells you the fight's canceled. Like what went through your mind at that point?
So in that position for me, it was really weird because, it was like, it was the saddest, most relieving thing I've ever experienced. I really wanted to, once I turned it on, I was all in. And then when they called it off, it was kind of a relief because essentially I wasn't getting the time I needed or wanted. It wasn't the circumstances that I preferred, but luckily I've been training and sparring, so my body wasn't bad. I was able to get down to 67, 68, no problem. That day we talked, that was like 10 days after I started working.
Wow.
So I've really, like I said, I was telling myself all year, I was like, you're gonna fight again and it's gonna be huge. So, don't let it don't get out of shape. I wanted to be at a point where if I was gonna go into camp, I wanted to be in shape, not take the first 3 weeks to get in shape, to be able to put my body through what I needed to put it through. So I was very fortunate to have, in hindsight, it was very, very preferred.
That is actually crazy, man, because I remember you telling me that earlier this year, that I know what fight I get next is going to be a really big one. And at the time I was like, yeah, I mean, hopefully, but there was just no certainty. Everything was so up in the air. No one knew who was going to fight anybody. You must have had some type of premonition that this was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, when you're the main event in the UFC, it's a huge fight. It doesn't really matter who you're fighting. And 5 out of 6 times they've billed me as the main event. I've headlined for some of the, it's crazy, like if you go back to when I fought Dustin Poirier and headlined that card, Izzy was on that card. It's just crazy. The respect I got from the UFC and the opportunities that they're allowing me to, being in the main event, they don't give that to anybody. And humans recognize effort. I'll say it a million times because it's so true. And they know that I give max effort. And really, what more can you expect from someone that you're paying money to?
Yeah. So 4 days after the cancellation, you have some pizza and some ice cream, and then how did you find out that the fight was back on?
Same way I found out it was off, on the internet. Yeah. I saw that Dana had said that he was having this card May 9th, and I was the main event. And I was like, what the hell? So, yeah, I was really, to be honest with you, I was a little bit upset because I've always told them I don't want to fight on short training camps. And they, and I don't blame them, but they had the assumption that because I was going to do it April 18th, I would be fine to do it May 9th. But those are totally different circumstances for me. And so I really wasn't happy about it. But you go back to the drawing board and, risk versus reward. For a world title, you fight on a day, a day's notice. It doesn't matter. We're only here for one thing, and a fight's a fight. Tony's a very different breed of fighter, and, his cardio is great. So for a fight like that, you really, it's all about having the confidence to step in there. And that's all, for me, that's all comes to preparation. If I can prepare, then ultimately I don't care what happens. I know that I will give max effort because I do every time. But yeah, I was a little upset that, for one, they didn't ask me. They just kind of announced it, and it kind of puts pressure on us. Just a little bit of respect, would be great.
Do you understand like why it happens like that sometimes, and maybe they're afraid of leaks, or maybe they don't want people to know that they're going to go on May 9th, or do you think that that's like those are all, forget it, they still owe you the respect?
So when I have those thoughts, it's like, very spur of the moment. I don't have time to rethink or think about what my reaction is going to be. It's kind of, on the fly. As a matter of fact, when they called me and told me, I just blew a tire. I was changing a tire on the side of the highway, on the freeway.
Really?
And they called me, so I was all fired up. My manager was like, dude, why are you mad at me? I'm like, I'm not mad at you. Damn. And then, but then 2 hours later, I was like, I called him back. I was like, okay, I'm in.
So how do you jump back into the process of preparing for the fight, and what has your camp looked like? I mean, obviously everybody knows these are unique circumstances. So how have you gone about sort of building your camp for this fight on May 9th?
I mean, nothing's changed for me. I never trained, other than when I went to sparring with my whole team. There was 20, 30 people in there. But if it's just my training partners, there's 6 of us, and 2 coaches. So I think I said it in the interview last time. There's a few ways I can die, and the most surest and fastest way for me right now is to not be prepared for a fight and to go in there and fight. So for me, I can't take shortcuts. I can't not have teammates here. I can't, I've Kamaru Usman's here, Beneil Dariush is here, and we're all isolated in my house. So, we're working out together.
Topic that just continues to linger out there that, hey, George is retired, but he leaves the door just slightly cracked open to potentially fight a guy that he really respects in Khabib Nurmagomedov. So you represent Khabib. You know how many more fights this guy wants, how many years he wants to be in there, sort of his mood. You know him better than obviously any of us. What has to happen here to see a fight between George and Khabib?
I mean, Justin Gaethje should try to get me killed, but listen. I listened to the interview and I think the way the interview was conducted, it was like a little bit manipulated. First of all, George is not even in the conversation right now. Let me say something. George St. Pierre is the greatest fighter of all the time. I'm telling I represent Khabib, I represent the many great champions. But George St. Pierre, it is the greatest athlete fighter in UFC ever seen. Period. There's nobody else. Right now is nobody. But and he's a very good friend of mine. I love George, been my friend for 15, 16 years. And I'm not gonna say anything negative about George because he's a wonderful human being and I really have a lot of love for him, right? Khabib is my brother, and I'm very close with him, like I'm very close to a lot of my athletes, right? If George St. Pierre wanted to fight, it's very simple. We can make this happen. In 2018, George St. Pierre wanted to fight Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. Dana White didn't believe it, and I got involved as a friend. And I have to convince John Shelby to convince Dana to meet with George. George flew to Las Vegas. I didn't manage him. I was helping as a friend. He had dinner with me and John Shelby and Dana White at an Italian restaurant in Las Vegas. And then I was like, this guy don't want to fight. He never want to fight again. 30 minutes in the conversation, George went to the bathroom. Dana White, he's out of his mind. He's crazy. George St. Pierre, it is out of his mind. He is a little bit nutty, right? And then
why did he say that? Why? What did he mean?
Because George started getting up, like shouting and walking around the table, and just got very emotional. George St. Pierre, he's an emotional guy. He always have a chip on his shoulder, but it's real. And then I see the reality in it, right? And after that, Ari wanted to meet him. We flew on Dana's plane. Me and Dana and George met us there. We met Ari in here. And this is how the Bisping happened, right? I don't manage George. I didn't manage Bisping. And that was 2018. Now, let's be real. I manage Khabib. I'm very good friend with George. You don't think I can make this fight happen with Dana White? But Dana White has stipulations. He said, if George St. Pierre wants this fight, people talk about every couple of months about George St. Pierre, but I respect Justin, I respect Tony. George is not even in a conversation because it's a lot of guys before George. I'll put George before Conor every day of the week, but I'm not gonna put George before Justin Gaethje. I'm not gonna put George before Tony Ferguson because this is a deserving guy. But it's, because they'll be disrespectful, not because Justin is my client, he's disrespectful. And George is not the guy I want to disrespect other people, And if George St. Pierre wanted this fight really, really happen, he has to do three things. Pick up the phone, he can call me, he can call Dana directly. Dana White respects George St. Pierre. He really likes George St. Pierre. Mm-hmm. And Dana White doesn't like too many people. He does not. He has to make 155 pounds. And he have to communicate. He have a good team, but he always can call me. And everybody can ask him what happened in 2018. And he's my friend. But I communicate people. I communicate with people. That's it. But all the time talk about George want to fight this guy, George want to fight this guy. Hey, send the location like Khabib said. Send the location, send the phone number. We can make it happen. Right now it's about Justin Gaethje. for me. It's about Justin Gaethje fighting Tony Ferguson, knock his head off, clean off. You understand? Send him back. You know, listen. People said it's a curse. Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje is a curse. Guess what? May 9, the spell on this fight is gonna be dissolved because Justin Gaethje is gonna, I believe, he's gonna knock him out. He's gonna put him to sleep. And now we don't have to talk about Tony anymore, right? That's it, man. It's a
Bilal Muhammad was off, and the report stated that it was due to an injury. Come to find out, not exactly 100% accurate, and so I wanted to give you the floor to first open the door for us and let us know what you've been going through over the last few weeks.
So pretty much I've been in camp, in preparation for the April 18th card. I was slated to go against Bilal Muhammad. It was a fight that we're both very excited for. I was excited and training very hard for this fight. And then, with the situation that was going on around us, we did our best to try to avoid infections or avoid the spread of, the COVID-19 and the virus and all. And we limited a lot of my training to only certain people in the gym. Despite, my best efforts to try avoid, catching the virus, unfortunately, although I said it was due to an injury, it was actually because I had tested positive for the COVID-19. So as soon as I found out, I let everybody know. And, it was one of those things where it wasn't sinking in yet that it could have been that. As fighters, we're trained so hard. We're hardwired to train through everything. If we catch a cold or if there's like a little nagging injuries here and there, which happens very often, we're trained to pretty much, just fight through it. So at first I thought it was that. And man, there was just one day where it was bad. It was bad, Ariel. It was, my body wasn't listening. It wasn't responding the way it normally does to sparring. I was sparring that day. And so I decided to go get tested, and sure enough, it came back positive. And I knew something was up because, I know my body, and I've been through it all. I've been through a lot of injuries and a lot of other things, but this was different. So unfortunately, as soon as we got news, I let my management know, my team, my coaches, and everybody that I had contact with. And unfortunately, had to pull out of that fight.
Do you remember when you first started to feel the symptoms?
Yeah, actually, I remember exactly. It was on a Monday, and I was supposed to go into that morning to go train. I was actually supposed to spar. It was, usually Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, we have hard sparring, like full on, like MMA and all out. But that morning, I for the life of me, I could not get myself to just go. Like my body was just saying, no, like not today, man. We're not, this isn't going to happen. But I trained through it. And then later on I felt worse. So I think that was the start of it. That was, probably the worst of it was that week.